You say you want everything in life, but pause for a moment and ask yourself, what does everything truly mean? Is it wealth, respect, love, freedom, peace, or is it something deeper, something that cannot be touched, yet defines the quality of your existence? The truth is, most people do not lack opportunity. They lack alignment. They chase without direction, desire without discipline, and expect without becoming. And life does not respond to what you wish for, it responds to who you are. The first way is to become absolutely clear about your intention. A scattered mind produces a scattered life. If your thoughts are divided, your path will be uncertain. Sit in stillness and define what you truly want, not what the world told you to want, but what resonates with your inner being. When your intention becomes sharp, your energy stops leaking into distractions. Everything begins to move with purpose. The second way is discipline, not as punishment, but as devotion. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect. When you say you want something but fail to act consistently, you are teaching yourself that your words have no value. And once that happens, even you stop believing in yourself. Build discipline quietly. Wake up when you say you will. Do what must be done, especially when you do not feel like it. This is how you turn desire into reality. The third way is to detach from outcomes. This may sound strange. How can you get everything you want by letting go of wanting it? But understand this deeply. Attachment creates anxiety, and anxiety clouds your actions. When you are desperate, you make poor decisions. When you are calm and centered, you act with precision. Focus on your effort, not the reward. Ironically, when you stop chasing, what you seek often comes to you. The fourth way is consistency. Greatness is never a sudden event, it is a slow accumulation of small, correct actions repeated daily. Many people start strong, but few endure. They are motivated one day and distracted the next, but life rewards those who remain steady. Even when progress is invisible, continue. Even when results are delayed, continue. The seed does not break the ground overnight, but it is growing beneath the surface. The fifth way is self-mastery. If you cannot control your emotions, your impulses, your reactions, then you are not in control of your life. The world will pull you in every direction. People will test your patience. Circumstances will challenge your stability. But your power lies in your response. When you master yourself, you become unshakable. And when you are unshakable, you begin to shape your reality instead of being shaped by it. The sixth way is to align yourself with a higher purpose. When your goals are only about personal gain, your energy remains limited. But when your actions serve something greater than growth, truth, contribution, your life gains momentum. Opportunities begin to find you because you are no longer just taking from life, you are giving to it. And life responds generously to those who move with purpose. And finally, understand this. Getting everything you want is not about controlling the world, it is about transforming yourself. The world is unpredictable. Circumstances will change. But when you build clarity, discipline, detachment, consistency, self-mastery, and purpose within you, you no longer depend on conditions to be right. At that point, you do not chase success, it follows you. You do not beg for respect, you embody it. You do not fear loss because you have already found something greater within yourself. So the real question is not whether you can have everything you want. The real question is, are you willing to become the person who is capable of receiving it? Because once you become that person, life has no choice but to respond. Clarity is not something that happens by accident. It is something you create with intention and honesty. Most people move through life with a vague sense of what they want, influenced by society, family, or fleeting emotions. They say they want success, happiness, or freedom, but these words remain undefined in their minds. And when your vision is unclear, your actions become inconsistent, your energy becomes scattered, and your results become unpredictable. Life begins to feel confusing not because it is, but because your direction is. To gain clarity, you must first be willing to sit with yourself in silence. Not the kind of silence where you scroll endlessly or distract your mind, but a deep stillness where you confront your own thoughts. In that space, you begin to see the difference between what you truly desire and what you have been conditioned to chase. Many people spend years climbing ladders only to realize they were leaning against the wrong wall. This happens when you never take the time to ask, is this truly mine, or was it given to me by the expectations of others? Clarity requires courage because truth is often uncomfortable. You may discover that some of your goals are rooted in comparison, insecurity, or the need for validation. You may realize that what you thought would bring fulfillment is actually empty. But this realization is not a loss, it is a liberation. Because once you remove what is false, what remains is real. And what is real carries a different kind of energy, one that is steady, focused, and powerful. When your intention becomes clear, your decisions begin to simplify. You no longer waste time debating every option because you have a standard to measure against. You start asking better questions. Does this move me closer to my purpose? If the answer is no, you let it go without hesitation. This is where discipline becomes easier, not because the work is lighter, but because your mind is no longer divided. Clarity also sharpens your focus. Imagine trying to hit a target you cannot see. No matter how hard you try, your efforts will feel random. But once the target is visible, even small actions become meaningful. Every step you take is directed. Every choice you make carries intention. This is how ordinary effort transforms into extraordinary progress. However, clarity is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process of refinement. As you grow, your understanding deepens, and your vision may evolve. What mattered to you 5 years ago may not matter today. This is natural. The key is to remain aware and honest with yourself. Do not cling to outdated goals out of fear or habit. True clarity requires flexibility, not rigidity. Another important aspect of clarity is emotional alignment. It is not enough to know what you want intellectually, you must also feel connected to it. When your mind and emotions are aligned, your energy becomes unified. There is no internal resistance, no second guessing. You move forward with conviction, and that conviction is felt in everything you do. In the end, clarity is power. It is the foundation upon which all success is built. Without it, even the strongest effort is wasted. With it, even the smallest step becomes significant. When you know exactly what you want and why you want it, you stop wandering and start moving with purpose. And once your direction is clear, life begins to respond, not because it has changed, but because you have. Discipline is often misunderstood as restriction, as something that limits freedom, but in truth, it is the very force that creates it. Without discipline, you are not free, you are controlled by your impulses, your moods, and your distractions. You become a servant to whatever feels easy in the moment, and in doing so, you sacrifice what truly matters in the long run. Discipline, then, is not about forcing yourself into a rigid life, it is about aligning your actions with your deeper intentions, even when comfort pulls you in the opposite direction. Most people wait for motivation before they act. They say, I will start when I feel ready, or I will do it when I am inspired. But motivation is unreliable. It rises and falls like the wind. If you depend on it, your progress will always be inconsistent. Discipline, on the other hand, does not ask how you feel. It operates on commitment. It says, this is what must be done, and I will do it regardless of my mood. This is where real transformation begins, when your actions are no longer controlled by temporary emotions, but guided by a stable decision. There is a quiet power in doing what you said you would do, especially when no one is watching. In those moments, you are building trust with yourself. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the belief that your word matters. And every time you break that promise, you weaken that belief. Over time, this internal relationship becomes the foundation of your confidence. Confidence is not something you speak into existence, it is something you prove to yourself through consistent action. Discipline also teaches you patience. In a world that glorifies instant results, it is easy to become frustrated when progress is slow. But meaningful growth does not happen overnight. It requires repetition, effort, and time. Discipline allows you to stay committed even when the rewards are not immediately visible. It reminds you that what you are building is not just an outcome, but a version of yourself that is capable of sustaining that outcome. Another important aspect of discipline is the ability to say no. Every time you say yes to something that distracts you, you are saying no to something that could move you forward. Discipline sharpens your awareness of this trade-off. It helps you recognize that your time and energy are limited resources, and where you invest them determines the quality of your life. Saying no is not about deprivation, it is about protection, protecting your focus, your goals, and your future. It is also important to understand that discipline does not mean perfection. You will have days where you fall short, where your energy is low, where your focus slips. This is part of being human. The difference lies in how quickly you return to your path. Discipline is not about never failing, it is about not staying down. It is about returning, again and again, to what you know is right, regardless of how many times you have drifted away. As discipline becomes a habit, something remarkable begins to happen. What once felt difficult starts to feel natural. The resistance fades and your actions become more automatic. You no longer rely on willpower for every decision because you have trained your mind to follow a certain standard. This is when discipline transforms from effort into identity. You are no longer someone who tries, you are someone who does. In the end, discipline is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that your goals, your time, and your life matter. It is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. And while it may demand effort in the beginning, it gives back far more than it takes. Because through discipline, you do not just achieve your desires, you become the kind of person who is worthy of them. Detachment is one of the most misunderstood principles on the path to getting what you want. Many people hear the word and assume it means indifference, a lack of care, or emotional distance. But true detachment is not about withdrawing from life, it is about engaging with it fully, without becoming enslaved by the outcome. It is the ability to give your best effort while remaining inwardly stable, regardless of how things unfold. When you are attached to a specific result, your mind becomes tense. You begin to overthink, to force, to control. Every delay feels like failure, every obstacle feels personal. This tension clouds your judgment and weakens your actions. Instead of moving with clarity, you move with fear, the fear of not getting what you want. And this fear subtly shapes your behavior, often pushing you into decisions that are reactive rather than intentional. Detachment frees you from this internal pressure. It allows you to act with precision because your mind is no longer consumed by what if. You are present with the task in front of you. Your focus sharpens, your creativity expands, and your actions become more effective. It is not that you stop caring about the outcome, it is that you stop depending on it for your sense of worth or peace. Consider how differently you perform when you are relaxed compared to when you are desperate. In a state of calm confidence, you think clearly, you respond wisely, and you trust your process. But in a state of desperation, you rush, you doubt, and you cling. The paradox is that the more tightly you hold onto something, the more it tends to slip away. Detachment loosens that grip, creating space for things to come naturally. Another dimension of detachment is understanding that you do not control everything. You control your effort, your attitude, and your choices, but the final outcome is influenced by many factors beyond you. When you accept this, you stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead, you direct all your energy toward what is within your reach. This shift alone brings a deep sense of peace and strength. Detachment also protects you from emotional extremes. When you are overly attached, your happiness rises and falls with every success and failure. You become unstable, easily shaken by circumstances. But when you are detached, you develop a steady inner state. Success does not inflate you, and failure does not break you. You remain grounded, learning from both without losing your center. This does not mean you become passive or careless. On the contrary, detachment often leads to greater effort because your actions are no longer burdened by fear or doubt. You work with a sense of freedom. You give your best not because you are trying to prove something, but because excellence itself becomes your standard. There is also a deeper wisdom in detachment. It opens you to possibilities beyond your limited expectations. Sometimes, what you think you want is only a small piece of what life can offer. But if you are too attached to that one outcome, you may miss something far greater. Detachment allows you to remain open, to trust that what is meant for you will align in the right way and at the right time. In the end, detachment is a form of inner mastery. It is the ability to stand firm within yourself while engaging fully with the world. You act with intention, you strive with discipline, but you do not cling. And in that balance, something powerful happens. You become both focused and free. And it is in this state that you often find that what you were chasing begins to come toward you, not because you forced it, but because you created the space for it to arrive. Consistency is the quiet force that separates intention from achievement. Many people are inspired for a moment, driven for a day, or committed for a week, but very few remain steady over time. And yet, it is not intensity that shapes your life, it is continuity. A single powerful effort may feel satisfying, but it is the repeated, disciplined action that creates real transformation. There is a tendency to underestimate small actions. Because they seem insignificant, they are often ignored or postponed. But life does not measure your progress by how big your actions are, it measures by how often you show up. A small step taken every day will carry you further than a large step taken once and abandoned. This is the law of accumulation. What you do consistently compounds, whether it is effort, habits, or even neglect. Consistency requires a shift in how you think about progress. Most people are focused on immediate results. They want to see visible change quickly. And when that change does not appear, they become discouraged. But growth is not always visible in the beginning. Just like a seed beneath the soil, there is a period where nothing seems to be happening. Yet beneath the surface. Something is forming, strengthening, preparing to emerge. If you lose patience during this phase, you interrupt the very process that would have led to success. To be consistent, you must learn to detach from the need for instant reward. You must find value in the act itself, not just in the outcome. When you begin to appreciate the process, showing up becomes easier. You no longer rely on excitement to take action, you rely on commitment. And commitment is far more stable than motivation. Another challenge to consistency is emotional fluctuation. Some days you will feel strong, focused, and energized. Other days you will feel tired, distracted, or doubtful. If you allow your actions to depend on how you feel, your efforts will always be unstable. Consistency demands that you act despite your emotions, not because of them. It asks you to develop a standard for yourself and to follow that standard regardless of your internal state. This does not mean you ignore your well-being. It means you learn to adapt without abandoning your path. On difficult days, your effort may be smaller, your pace slower, but you still move forward. Even a small action maintains the rhythm, and that rhythm is what keeps you connected to your goal. Once the rhythm is broken, it becomes much harder to restart. Consistency also builds identity. When you repeat an action over time, it becomes part of who you are. You are no longer someone who tries occasionally, you are someone who shows up regularly. This shift in identity is powerful because it changes how you see yourself and how you approach challenges. You begin to trust your ability to persist, and that trust strengthens your resolve. It is important to understand that consistency is not about perfection. There will be interruptions, mistakes, and moments where you fall short. What matters is not that you never break the pattern, but that you return to it quickly. The longer you stay away, the harder it becomes to regain momentum. But if you return immediately, the disruption remains small and your progress continues. Over time, consistency creates momentum. What once required effort begins to feel natural. Your habits support you instead of resisting you. And as this momentum builds, progress accelerates, not because you are doing more, but because you have been doing enough, long enough. In the end, consistency is an act of quiet discipline and deep patience. It does not seek attention or recognition, yet it produces the most powerful results. It is the foundation upon which all success stands. When you learn to show up again and again without losing focus or faith, you tap into a force that is unstoppable. And through that steady persistence, you turn possibility into reality. It looks like there's a mismatch. You originally had only 6 key points, so there isn't a key point 15. I'm assuming you meant the next one in sequence. I'll expand the final key idea about aligning with a higher purpose. When your actions are driven only by personal desire, your energy remains limited and often unstable. You may feel motivated when things are going well, but easily discouraged when they are not. This is because your sense of purpose is tied to outcomes, money, recognition, approval, and these things are unpredictable. When they fluctuate, so does your commitment. But when you align yourself with a higher purpose, something deeper begins to guide you, something that is not dependent on external validation. A higher purpose does not have to be grand or dramatic. It is not about saving the world in a visible way. It is about understanding that your life is connected to something beyond your immediate self. It is about contributing, growing, and living in a way that reflects truth, integrity, and awareness. When your actions are rooted in this understanding, even the simplest tasks gain meaning. Work is no longer just a means to an end, it becomes an expression of who you are. When you operate from purpose, your focus shifts from what can I get to what can I give. And this shift changes everything. It removes the constant pressure of trying to extract value from every situation. Instead, you begin to create value. You approach your work, your relationships, and your goals with a mindset of contribution. And paradoxically, this is what attracts opportunities, respect, and success. People are naturally drawn to those who bring something meaningful, rather than those who are only seeking to take. Purpose also strengthens your resilience. When challenges arise and they will, you are less likely to give up, because your reason for continuing is deeper than temporary discomfort. If your goal is only personal gain, it is easy to walk away when things become difficult. But when you feel connected to something greater, you endure. You push forward not because it is easy, but because it matters. This sense of meaning becomes a source of inner strength that cannot be easily shaken. Another important aspect of aligning with a higher purpose is integrity. When you are clear about what you stand for, your decisions become more grounded. You are less influenced by trends, opinions, or external pressure. You act according to your principles, even when it is inconvenient. This builds a sense of inner stability and self-respect. And over time, this integrity becomes visible to others, creating trust and credibility. Living with purpose also brings a sense of fulfillment that external achievements alone cannot provide. You may reach a goal, acquire wealth, or gain recognition, but if these are not connected to something meaningful, the satisfaction is often temporary. There is always a sense that something is missing. But when your actions align with a deeper intention, fulfillment is not delayed until the end. It is present in the process itself. It is also important to understand that your purpose may evolve over time. As you grow, your perspective changes, and so does your understanding of what truly matters. This is natural. The key is to remain aware and open, to continuously reflect on whether your actions are aligned with your values. Purpose is not something you find once and hold on to forever. It is something you refine through experience and self-awareness. In the end, aligning with a higher purpose transforms the way you pursue everything else. Your goals become clearer, your efforts more focused, and your mindset more balanced. You are no longer chasing success in a restless way. You are building a life that feels meaningful and complete. And in doing so, you often find that the very things you once chased begin to come naturally, as a byproduct of who you have become. When you align yourself with a higher purpose, your life begins to move in a completely different direction, not necessarily outwardly at first, but inwardly in a way that changes everything. Most people live in a constant cycle of wanting, achieving, and then wanting more. Even when they reach their goals, the satisfaction fades quickly, and a new desire takes its place. This cycle creates a restless mind, always searching, never truly fulfilled. But when your actions are connected to something deeper than personal gain, this restlessness begins to dissolve. A higher purpose gives meaning to your effort. It answers the question, why am I doing this? In a way that goes beyond money, status, or approval. It connects your daily actions to a larger vision of growth, contribution, and truth. And when your why is strong, your how becomes more resilient. You no longer depend on motivation to act, because your purpose carries you forward even when your emotions fluctuate. Many people underestimate the power of intention behind action. Two individuals may do the same work, but if one is driven by ego and the other by purpose, their experiences will be completely different. The one driven by ego will constantly seek recognition and feel dissatisfied when it is not given. The one driven by purpose will find fulfillment in the act itself, because the work is an expression of something meaningful. This inner fulfillment creates a steady form of energy, one that does not rely on external rewards. Aligning with a higher purpose also refines your priorities. It becomes easier to let go of distractions, unnecessary conflicts, and shallow pursuits. You begin to see clearly what deserves your time and what does not. This clarity is not forced, it arises naturally when you understand what truly matters. Your decisions become more intentional, your focus sharper, and your energy more concentrated. There is also a certain humility that comes with living for a higher purpose. You realize that life is not just about you, your desires, your achievements, your image. You become aware that you are part of something larger, and this awareness softens the ego. It allows you to learn, to grow, and to adapt without constantly defending your identity. This humility is not weakness, it is strength. It keeps you open and grounded, even as you progress. At the same time, purpose strengthens your sense of responsibility. When you know that your actions have meaning beyond yourself, you begin to take them more seriously. You show up with greater care, greater attention, and greater integrity. You are less likely to cut corners or act carelessly, because you understand that what you do has an impact not just on your own life, but on others as well. Another powerful effect of aligning with a higher purpose is that it attracts the right kind of opportunities and people. When you are clear about what you stand for, you naturally resonate with those who share similar values. Your environment begins to shift not through force, but through alignment. You find yourself in situations that support your growth and around people who encourage your progress. This is not coincidence. It is the result of moving with clarity and intention. Purpose also changes how you handle challenges. Instead of seeing them as obstacles, you begin to see them as part of the path. Difficulties are no longer something to avoid, they are something to learn from. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to deepen your understanding, strengthen your character, and refine your direction. This perspective reduces fear and increases resilience. In the end, aligning with a higher purpose does not mean you stop wanting success, comfort, or achievement. It means those things are no longer your foundation, they become byproducts. Your foundation becomes something deeper, something more stable. And from that foundation, you build a life that is not only successful on the outside, but also meaningful on the inside. When these two come together, you no longer feel like you are chasing life, you feel like you are living it with intention, clarity, and quiet strength.